During the summer of 2023, we moved to a remote Scottish Hebridean island to be its only two residents, along with our two pet sheep and pair of cats. These remote islands seem to retain an old-fashioned rhythm and a charm which we find encouraging us to live a more frugal and simple life, the way man was perhaps more intended to. We have an ancient stone cottage to restore, veggies to grow, livestock to build up, fish to catch and smoke, a boat to buy, and much more. Step back in time with us at the Scottish Isle. The wind meant you couldn't hear me at all in this clip, so I'll tell you what I'm explaining in this voiceover instead. As you've seen in a previous video, we referred to what was here when we first moved in as the Great Atlantic Wall, which was soon after turned into this big pile of rubble, which we've been negotiating up and down. It now includes some of the renovation spoil from the demolition work inside the house. So what we're going to do is even it all up into a nice natural slope and put some breeze block steps up the middle. Once they're cemented in, we'll then add natural stone steps on top of those blocks. Then the grass can reclaim it. We'll add some boulders and moss and allow for wildflowers to grow, and we think it'll be a marked improvement on what was here.
Looks flat enough to me. This is a great idea of mine.
Is that nice? Oh.
Where's Bree? She's missing out again.
On our infrequent trips into Fort William, we've been passing this building and intending to stop for a look, but the car park's always been full of tourists of various description walking down to the Glenfinnan Monument and Railway Viaduct. Not today though. This church is a fine example of E.W. Pugin architecture, the eldest son of the architect responsible for designing the Palace of Westminster and Big Ben in London. But more impressive to us is the incredible views it has overlooking Loch Shiel. Bonnie Prince Charlie in 1745 chose to raise a standard in this location to rally the Highlanders to war because of the locals' Catholicism. These Highlanders who chose to fight against the English crown believed Charles Edward Stuart to be the legitimate heir to Scottish kingship, though there were many others who fought on the side of the English government, with neighbour fighting against neighbour and brother against brother. To us, what we find intriguing about buildings like these, it's not about the content within them. Indeed, interiors can often be ostentatious and richly furnished, a marked contrast to the lowly, common crofting family who would often walk miles in all weathers to attend a service. No, for us, church is a gathering of kin. A collective of people is what makes a community, with the same values and morals, the same mutual respect and reverence. The advance of Christendom across Europe during the 1st century and well beyond to what were formerly pagan nations, and the growth of what became known as Western civilization, was down to one thing: a reconciliation of brothers, men understanding their common heritage and promises. A building of one denomination or another drives a wedge between this brotherhood, ironically creating wars such as Prince Charles himself fought. It's the people who came to these buildings who are fascinating to us, the communities and fellowship they created with common purpose. And it'll come round again. Robert Burns got it really right when he penned the words, "It's coming yet, for all that man to man the world o'er shall brothers be."
Katie, what does the memorial on the bench say?
It says, "In living memory of John Smith, who never came here and didn't like sitting."
I think you're lying. What are you laughing at? I don't think that's true. By the way, it says Friar Joseph McShane, 1931 to 2015. Liar.
Stovies is a traditional Scottish stew. Made with leftover meat and potatoes and lots of fried onion. You find that a lot of traditional cooking is in Scotland is done with leftovers, bulked out with lots of potatoes, which was easier for people to grow. For us today, the leftover meat is roast lamb leg from yesterday, and stovies, you cook it for a long time. You cook the potatoes and the meat together, basically, and simmer everything down into a mush. And it makes a not particularly appetizing looking, but very hearty and wholesome and winter-worthy meal, which you have with crusty bread or oatcakes.
only an idiot would be flying a helicopter in this weather. Mad. It hasn't stopped raining here for the last 3 days, which is fine. We understand, that's what it does here. But the problem that we're having is the internet connection. We've had 4 days of outage in the last 7, and this is just causing havoc with uploading. The only solution that we have to this is Starlink, and it's just beyond our financial means right now. So we're probably going to have to do some kind of campaign to try and get some funding, because we can't carry on uploading the way that we are doing with the content that we are, and have the internet down so often. It wasn't an issue when we first got here, but the atmospheric problems that we've got now hitting autumn and getting more of this. In fact, let me flip it and show you. As soon as the weather turns like this, we end up losing the internet. And what we're finding is that now this kind of weather is daily. So, something's got to be done.
You guys haven't really seen this area since we moved in, so I thought I'd show you the kitchen again and show you as well what our plans are for this area. Behind this wall, cupboard, it's not a cupboard, it's just blocked off water tank basically, which is connected to the stove, and that's where we get our hot water from. The stove works quite well, but it doesn't really throw the heat down into this part of the kitchen, which is the new part. It's very lovely and light down there, but it's cold, and it's impractical because the fridge and the cooker are down there, but all of our utensils and plates and the sink is up here. So it's split over 2 levels, and it's just not practical at all. We have to keep our utensils up here because we have a slug problem because nothing has been sealed properly in this part of the house. The slugs come in, which is delightful. So if anybody has any friends that they don't particularly like and they would like some slugs, we are your people. You know, they make excellent birthday presents, that sort of thing. So let us explain to you what our plans are for this area here. So, impractical, 2 steps to get up to this area. And then we have, now this is the bathroom, which you haven't really seen either. It's not much to behold. When we moved in, it didn't even have a closing door. So Scott made this door from some old cupboards that we took down that we didn't like the look of. Here is our small bathroom, which has been painted with normal paints rather than bathroom paint. That's why it's all stained. It's small, and again, not very practical. The loo is broken, it doesn't work, and all this boarding needs to come off in order to fix that. So that's a task in itself, but our plans are we can utilise this space better, and I will show you how. In the words of the doc from Back to the Future, I apologise for the crudity of this model. I didn't have time to build it to scale or to paint it. This is the footprint of our wee house. When the house was originally built, obviously none of this was here, and you would have come in the front door and been faced with a tongue and groove wood wall. You would have gone here into the living room, and then, according to Ewan, it was another doorway here, and this was your pantry. The whole family would have slept probably in between these 2 rooms. And then, of course, as you saw, this hole was never here. When the kitchen was tacked onto the side of the house in probably the 50s, it had this footprint here. And you would come out the front door, along the path, and in another door to the kitchen. And then when we had all of the wood panelling and plasterboard put up in 1970-ish, that's when they knocked this infamous hole in the poor old wall. We have a water tank here for hot water. This is our stove. We have this cupboard that kind of hangs over in midair. A giant step up into the kitchen with a very sort of rotten old sink, washing machine, and the bathroom, as you saw. This is a lovely light space, but as I said, it's completely impractical going up and down. So we wanted to make some adjustments here if possible. And here's what we were thinking. So we want to make this the living room again, pretty much only because this being a thoroughfare, you having to walk through here means that you're really restricted in how you orient your furniture, and it's difficult to have everything facing the fire. So if we make this the living room and this the bedroom, well, we'll see. Maybe a little office here. We want to move some things around here. Make the cupboard flush with this wall and move the stove into the front part of the kitchen somehow. Move the sink down here and the washing machine and have the kitchen completely on one level. Put a couple of nice little steps up here and basically take this stud wall down and put one down here. The electric supply coming into the house, this RCD unit here, has to be in its own little closet. So we'll have a little utility closet there, opening out into the hallway. And then what we hope is to be able to move this immersion heater really just a few feet from where it is to the other side of the doorway, and have an airing cupboard there. Hopefully we can move the bath out of the location that it's in at the minute and put a shower there instead, and move the bath over sort of underneath this window and have a nice big bathroom and a much more practical space down the front here. Any builders with any advice would be very welcome. We would be looking at running pipes from the stove to the immersion heater here, which isn't too far. I don't think it's too much of a problem. And there you have it.
There are 3 small islands that reach out into the bay from the cottage. I'm standing on the second one, watching the sunrise come up over the mainland. And it's quite cold, hence the scarf. There's like a definite nip in the air now. Like I said, the last 2 mornings, you can feel winter. Beautiful. It's a stunning view, but it's cold, especially on the hands when you're trying to film. Clouds just look incredible in that light. Anyway, time for breakfast.
When your onions are soft, you add in your chopped up meat of whatever variety you're using, and then potatoes, a lot of potatoes. The rough quantity is enough to feed an army, and then some more. And then cover it with leftover gravy or stock, and just leave it to simmer for an hour and a half.
Well, I had hoped to have had this finished, well, at least phase 1 finished for the end of this episode. But it's not going to happen because the weather is just beating us up once again. And that's the issue that we're going to have this time of the year and leading into the winter. Any outside jobs are always going to be weather dependent, and this one has been a bit of a washout. I'm trying to shield the microphone with the palm of my hand from the wind, so apologies if it's pretty bad, but at the moment we're experiencing what I'd call a North Sea squall. The rain is coming in sideways at the moment, so you can't keep dry no matter what. But back to this, all the block work is level and in place. Obviously we didn't follow any kind of uniformity because we don't want it to look that way. We want it to look as rustic as possible. The stones I've just put in place for you to get the rough idea of what it will look like. We're still not 100% certain on this because obviously during the winter those stones can get pretty slippery. So we might need something to coat them. I don't know, but that's the rough idea. And obviously the banks will all be covered with soil, and the vegetation here grows so quickly that you can guarantee if we can get this covered by as soon as possible, by spring next year, this will already have grass all over it. So, as I said, block work in place, all of those stones are level, the breeze blocks, shall I say, and we've at last got a pathway up to the cottage. But bringing cement out here right now to do any more work would be a complete waste of time. So, and the sand is right over the other side of the island, so that's not going to happen today. We're going to have to wait till the weather clears up. But let me just take you for a walk up. So this is what it's like. It's rough at the moment, but that's mainly down to the weather. And then we've got to sort that out. But yes, another job partially finished, and more rain. You're nearly there. Keep going. You're nearly there. Am I helping? Left a bit, right a bit, right a bit, left a bit, left a bit. Port, starboard, whatever it is. You're going out to sea. Well, that's how we get across from the car. Now it's my turn.